For the last 9 months, I've been building AI agents with a framework called LangGraph. What I like about LangGraph is its flexibility. You can build pretty much anything with LangGraph. And in the changing landscape of AI, it's very important to be able to adapt and change. So LangGraph enables that. Also, there is a growing community of LangGraph developers out there, and enterprises are increasingly adopting LangGraph as their framework of choice for building AI applications. Today's video is all about exploring the possibilities of an AI system and LangGraph. I'll show you my chatbot Quinn, who is built with LangGraph and does really useful things for you at work. In contrast to ChatGPT or Copilot, we make Quinn a true member of our team. We connect Quinn to tools, data domains, databases, anything we like him to have access to be able to compile and do some useful stuff for us. We enable Quinn to take actions on our behalf, but of course with our explicit approval. Let's hook up Quinn to a simulated work environment. What inspired Quinn is my work as a project manager. I set out to create an agent that has access to tools and information and operates in the context of my work environment. Act as a sort of a junior project manager or assistant. To prove Quinn's potential usefulness, at a minimum, I wanted to connect him to a company email to read or send emails, to my project information to get the latest status, meeting notes, risks, to databases where other company information may be stored, and also specially vectorized so Quinn can search it semantically, and web so it can be connected to real-time information and do live research. As a project manager, I also had to engage many stakeholders and understand their power level, influence, preferences and concerns. For our demo, let's introduce Jane Smith. Jane is a product owner. She has specific preferences when it comes to scheduling. She has specific hours that she prefers, and she doesn't want meetings scheduled on Fridays or Wednesdays. She has raised a number of issues before, the most critical one being deployment pipeline failures. This will be relevant later on. Wait, how does Quinn know all that? We use a library called LangMem. We can ask Quinn in chat to remember something or have it scan chats or emails in the backend. To do that, we give it schemas, like for example, scheduling preference schema like this or pain point schema like this. In the backend, LangMem sends it to an LLM and asks, hey, can you fill this out based on those messages and save it in a specified location? Then this new memory will be available in prompts in subsequent queries and requests. Let's proceed with asking Quinn to perform research on Jane's critical pain points, which we saw earlier, and include a suggested meeting. Let's pause quickly and examine what Quinn is doing. LangGraph provides an option to stream what is happening at each step, and it's capturing the to-do list that Quinn is asked to generate before he starts up. We can see that it first researches Jane's critical pain points, and we'll look into the project documentation and then proceed with the draft. Then it needs to find Jane's employee ID, do the research and do the draft. As it prepares the draft, it realizes that it doesn't have Jane's communication scheduling preferences, so it invokes another retrieval as it's preparing the draft. This is good, but I want you to suggest a particular time slot, and I want you to research solutions via web search, so let me ask it. Once again, Quinn plans the next steps that it streams to the chat UI. We see that it plans to do a deep web search for solutions. Of course, in real life, this could be any type of search or tool that you connect your agent with, but for a demo, web search does the trick. As Quinn completes all the steps, it is ready with the draft. We can see that it offers the meeting on Tuesday at 10 and proposes the agenda with solutions to the issue. Remember, this is just a demo. You can connect Quinn to anything you like, Slack, Jira, Salesforce, or the like, and have it use those or even update them. The options are endless. LangGraph enables that through its very flexible nature. Let's examine the agentic architecture here. LangGraph works through graphs. Think of them as process flows. You can have nodes that do something, arrows called edges that tell us where to go next, decision points, these diamond shapes that check for a condition. These are called conditional edges. In our case, we have one main core graph which looks like this. It's very simple. We have the router, which is the diamond-shaped conditional edge, whose job is to check if the query can be answered directly. This could be something that doesn't require additional checks, but if the router node determines that the request needs more advanced reasoning and actions, it will go to the supervisor. The supervisor is where the magic happens. It starts off with generating a plan, then it utilizes the different nodes and subgraphs to complete the request. Now, if we look at the retrieval graph, it is simply an agent or an LLM that gets the retrieval request and decides which tool to invoke. Same with the web graph, where the LLM again decides which tool to invoke, a basic or deep web search. Once it completes, it returns the result to the supervisor. The writer is another subgraph, but as you will see, it's a bit different. It follows a variation of the reflexion pattern. A writer LLM like Anthropic Sonnet 4 produces a draft. The draft is given to a critic, GPT-4o for example, which then checks for hallucinations and specific criteria like communication and scheduling preferences, as we saw earlier. If it decides that the draft is not based on fact or it needs additional research, it will invoke the researcher graph, which reuses the same retrieval and web graphs as we saw earlier to get the required information. This loop repeats until the critic is happy. We need to make sure we handle any infinite loops and recursions though, maybe by setting a limit to how many loops can be done and exit the reflexion with the best answer we have. This pretty much sums up the agentic architecture of Quinn. I want to go into more detail and build Quinn from scratch in one of my next videos. Stay tuned for that. Alright, I hope this demo was interesting. Thank you and see you next time.